From a Wolgemuth Farview Farm standpoint, they're a very diversified operation. They have the hogs, they have the cropland, and Karl also has a seed business. He sells seed to local farmers in the area, making sure that they're positioning genetics on the landscape that are going to be top performers and that are going to lead to economic outcomes that the farms in the area want to see.
I've been with Wolgemuth Farview for about 15 years. Started out just doing general farm work, helping take care of the animals. That morphed into the farm manager for the cropping side of the operation. So I figured out my passion was cropping and growing better crops, and turned into more of a research kind of thing. Got into the seed sales business about 7 years ago. The prior research we did on the farm transitioned very well into the seed business.
What was your interest in selling seed and getting into seed genetics?
Years ago, we just let someone else place everything. You know, we just chucked it in the field and didn't spend as much time on placement. When we started getting into technology and field mapping and yield monitors, all that about 10, 15 years ago, we started seeing some pretty big differences on maps. And I remember my first time I did it, we had a 16-row corn planter, we split 8 and 8 with a variety, and we harvested it with a combine, we mapped it, and I brought it up in the computer and started seeing different colored lines on the yield map. And we isolated that, and where a spot in the field was good, the yield was the same. You know, towards the road, towards the end of the field, where the soil type changed drastically into shalier type soil, we saw as much as a 46 bushel yield advantage for one particular hybrid just due to stress tolerance.
And right now, what seed companies are you selling for?
We sell for multiple seed companies. We sell for DeKalb, we sell for LG, we sell for Brevant, Mid-Atlantic Seeds, local seed company, as well as we produce some of our own wheat seed.
Why so many different companies? Why so many different genetics?
We've found a lot of advantages with running multiple companies. In the United States, there's about 4 major companies that handle genetics anymore for corn and soybean seed, and we are accessing 3 of those. So to find the best seed, we can source from multiple companies and find the best selection for our acres.
How much will the end result vary 10 miles south and 10 miles north from those genetics you place on the field?
Yeah, pretty significantly, actually. We've done quite a bit of research on that in the last few years. We've found some hybrids that have done extremely well in this very close geographic, that if you go 10 miles south into different soil types, water holding capacities increase or decrease significantly. So that's been a big research item we've done, having plots in different parts of the counties, and also just communicating with our growers, you know, what's working the best in what regions and where to push certain items. So variety selection for a field like this is a lot based on past history and kind of when we want to harvest. So it is a longer season hybrid. For here, it's a 112-day hybrid. About 80% of the field is one hybrid we know has done well in past years, one of our biggest movers. So what we've done is we've brought in about 4 other varieties in this field to compare to it. So 2 are competition hybrids, 1 is another in-house hybrid. They're all throughout this big part of the field here. So it goes over a wide range of soil types. The soil type changes about 3 times here, as well as some high stress spots with rock ledges and stuff like that. So we'll take all that data from those 4 trials we have in here and kind of look at it, say, hey, you know, are these up and coming things better than what we have currently?
What's the difference in relative maturity, and why is it important for farmers to spread the risk out with the maturities?
So here we have 2 reports. We got a 104 to 110-day maturity and a 110 to 115. What we've really kind of learned the last few years is, I like a lot of the people I work with to spread out their maturity, just based on heat, time, and rain during the summer. You can spread that maturity window out further. It spreads your pollination window out maybe over a month versus a week. And like heat stress we saw this year, we saw certain varieties and maturities do poorly because of just the timing of pollination versus some other hybrids that did really well because they matured a little bit later. And if you can space out your maturity on a farm, much bigger window to just try to make your average better rather than having it all do great or all do bad. We can have a bit of both, seems to a lot better.
So we're talking about risk management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What computer program are you using to manage data on the farm?
So primarily we use Climate, which you see here. These are some reports we build out of Climate for some of our side-by-side trials. And through our side-by-side trials, what we're doing is we're planting multiple acre plots. So we're taking a 16-row corn planter, we're planting 8 and 8 across. In here we're at 6 acres, and this one we're at 8 acres side-by-sides. So then we go back and harvest with a combine, and we map out the individual yield passes of separate hybrids. This is a farm that has high stress. Rocky dirt, dries out, didn't have a lot of rainfall this year, probably one of our lower productive farms. And it's interesting what we learned here is, in the first one over here, we had a perennial hybrid that was always one of our best stress hybrids. We've sold it for years, very good stress tolerance, great yielder in all environments really. And in here, we brought a new one out this year, same maturity, different number, that looked really good in plots last year, and we had a 7 bushel advantage on it in this instance. So that kind of tells us, hey, we can gain a little bit here on a stressful environment. The interesting part about that is we took that same hybrid, the newer one, and put it up against another new one on the same farm, and we had another +7. So all of a sudden, we can say that hybrid A is going to have a 15 bushel advantage on our older hybrid, which is pretty significant. So, going forward, we're going to lean pretty hard on this one. We've got a couple years of data on it now. And if you take this same hybrid, these same 2 hybrids, and you reverse the role on really good soils, like here on our home farm, we're probably going to see the opposite, which we did in plots, probably about a +10 advantage the other way. So that's where we've learned placement is pretty important.
Thinking about 4Rs and source rate, time and place, we've obviously focused on the source and getting the right genetics in the right place on that right acre. What about rate? What kind of practices are you doing, or what kind of research are you doing to determine the right rate of seed?
All right. So here we have variable rate trial we performed last year. This is a kind of an overview of the 3 different trials last year and showing the differences. Here you can kind of see where our planter was doing variable rate. So it would, through climate, we made a map based on yield zones and satellite imagery from the last 5 years to determine our yield. And we also entered the hybrid. So the hybrid's got a certain rating on what kind of populations it can handle in what environment, and potential yield, what we're shooting for, and fertility. And we set our variable rate planting off of that. So our stock planting rate was 34,000, and the variable rate map was actually the same average, but it went from anywhere from 28 to 39,000, I believe. So we did the trial 3 different times where we did side-by-side blocks over a 10-acre span, and we saw a 7, a 9, and a 2 bushel increase. At no point did we have a negative. So 6 bushel average across 3 plots proved to us that it's a good practice to start looking into more. And we did the same trials this year, ended up in that 6 bushel range as well. We already had the equipment, it's just a matter of making the maps, very low cost. We had all the data, which we've been collecting for years. And if you figure a 6 bushel increase, let's say on the low end at $4, you're already at $24 an acre increase without doing a whole lot of work. I think the variable rate fertility will come as the variable rate planting increases, to try to match the fertility versus the potential of that hybrid in that part of the field. I think that's going to be the evolution towards that. Try to get every ounce you can out of a certain acre, and realize your spots where you just don't need as much, just based on the potential.
So from being able to grow the wheat and being able to market wheat and position wheat on your customers' acres, has that influenced cover crop sales and cover crop mixes at all?
Not influence, but it's something we've been in for a long time. So we do a lot of the NRCS 4-way mixes for guys that have been enrolled in that program, and a lot of farmers are adopting it on their own. So we're doing 2, 3, 4, 5-way blends. A lot of small grain, some clovers, radish, canola, stuff like that, some hairy vetch. And it's becoming more of a trend. Also doing some triticale annual ryegrass for some dairy producers, getting some better forage quality and tonnage out of that.
And so you'll mix all those species in your blender over here?
Yeah, so our blender also acts as a seed mixer. So we clean it out, clean the machine out after we get done treating, and we'll start taking multiple species, weigh them out, and then we'll blend them together and then retail them.
So the field that we're standing at right now is a field where you do a lot of your plots and your research. Looks like manure is being applied today. It looks like there's a cover crop put in here. Can you share with us kind of how the fall management works in the fields? Yeah,
so we crops would have been harvested about 3 or 4 weeks ago off of here. Shortly after that, we'd cover crop in with about a week after. So our cover crop's been growing for about 2 weeks. Looks like we're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of growth at this point. And once we got a good cover crop establishment, we do fall apply some manure on ground that sits a little higher and can take it in the fall.
What cover crop mix are you using?
This is a wheat barley mix this year. So trying to keep it economical, but get good growth for the fall. I think the best way to start testing, find something that you're passionate about. Is it hybrid? Is it fertility? Is it planting practices? and start small and work your way up. Get some ideas from your local retailers, neighbors, what's someone else doing different than you, can you find a difference with that? So just trying to continually get better is where we started and kind of evolved.
So 2 practices, variety selection and variable rate at planting, that can lead to big jumps in yield and big jumps in nutrient use efficiency. Well, thanks for your time today. I appreciate being able to talk with you and you sharing some information with us.
Thanks for coming.